Hello everyone, thank you for joining us in this edition of The Inside. I am Babla Jonathan. Today we are looking at how far the Northwest Regional Assembly has gone with its duties, with its responsibilities on the ground since it was established. We're looking at what has been done so far, what is being done, and what is yet to be done, the challenges, the contribution of the institution in efforts to resolve the more than 8-year-long armed conflict in the northwest and southwest regions of the country, its contribution, its efforts to enhance the living conditions of the people. Stay with us and meet our guest in some few seconds. Our guest today is Professor ANGWAFO III. He is the president of the Northwest Regional Assembly. Mr. President, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Mr. Babila. It's always a pleasure to be able to be with you and so that you can help our communities know about what our assembly is all about and how we can work together.
Much has been said about the Northwest Regional Assembly and even the Southwest Regional Assembly within the framework of the special status, one of the fallouts of the major national dialogue, and which is being implemented with so many observers who have been saying that little or nothing is done, who have been highlighting the point or the suggestion that these institutions are not serving any purpose, these institutions are not achieving anything, and we've come to ask you what this institution is doing, has been doing, and intends to do, and how your actions on the ground are impacting the lives of the people, and of course, helping in the resolution of the more than 8-year armed conflict and improving the living conditions of the people. And before that, let's begin with a review of the missions of the Northwest Regional Assembly.
Thank you, Mr. Babila. Truth be told, I think the work and what has happened speaks for itself. But to go back to the beginning, the missions are very clear to us. First of all, we are an assembly because of the specificities culturally, historically, of the Northwest and Southwest regions. As you know, just after independence, we had a House of Chiefs and a House of West Cameroon House of Assembly. Those two institutions were brought together in this new dispensation to have a House of Assembly, which has a House of Chiefs, which gives its opinions on a lot of things that are stipulated in the law. And the House of Divisional Representatives, the other part of the Assembly, is bigger. It has 70 people, and the House of Chiefs is made up of 20 people. The missions are clear in 3 major areas. The first area is the development in terms of the economy. And this takes into consideration agriculture, land, town planning, urbanization, finance, and all of that. Then you have major sectors in health and education development, which is taking care of the social aspects of the population and its health. These are to deal with human development. Then finally, you have the aspect of health, culture, and sports. I mean, education, culture, and sports, which takes care of the youth, basically. Then the specificity is looking at our culture in terms of vestiges, heritage, chieftaincy, and all. But to ice the cake is the introduction of something that is not in the assembly, but the Public Independent Conciliator, so that the rights and issues of users, the population, are considered, and the service by the councils, local councils, as well as the assemblies, is of high quality and respects the rights and obligations of citizens.
After several years of existence of the Northwest Regional Assembly as well as the Southwest Regional Assembly, many observers still think that there is nothing special in these institutions. There's nothing special in the special status. There is basically no impact of these institutions on the local populations in the Northwest and Southwest regions. Something that is an empty vessel, an empty container given to Anglophones to deceive them. What's your response to this?
Well, anyone is deceived when they create conditions to be deceived. I think that in any situation, you'll always have those that believe, the non-believers, and those that act. We believe that the Regional Assembly, as well as the other structures that were given birth from the major national dialogue, actually come to change the dynamics of the new Cameroon that the head of state promised us in 2019. Why? Why do I say this? The Northwest Regional Assembly, for instance, has indeed shown through actions that the special status means one thing: considering the population, a people-centered policy with pro-poor and care of vulnerable subsections of the population, and taking care of issues that are peculiar to the communities in the Northwest region. That, to me, is what the special status is. And that special status can only be highlighted and be shown by the people themselves, because it is governance with the people, for the people, and in this, what is often termed as the bottom-up approach. And in our local parlance, it means everyone is counted and everyone counts. You know what we say: you na me na you, we be we. That is not just a slogan, because if you know our flagship program, the Peace and Development Initiative, which I will gladly tell you to take the USB key that presents the documentary, which talks of the journey of hope by the Northwest region, where we engaged communities in all 34 subdivisions through our peace and development committees, so that two main things are done. We have intra-community dialogue and activities, social actions that are varied.
You certainly tell us more about that, Mr. President. But before that, what's the difference between the regional assemblies in the Northwest and Southwest regions and the regional councils in the other 8 regions?
First of all, in the law of 024 of December 24th, 2019, instituting regional and local authorities, there is Part 5, which is specific to the Northwest and Southwest. Where you have councils in the 8 regions, we have assemblies here. And it's not just a question of a name, but in the substance, you will find out that the assemblies, first of all, function differently. The House of Representatives deliberates and sends to the House of Chiefs for their opinion. And they vet it and then send it back to the House of Divisional Representatives, who now, if it was okay by the House of Chiefs, then we can make a deliberation, and when we meet together as an assembly, we vote the deliberation. This is key, because it means that whatever we do, it goes through the prism of traditionalists, looking at our culture, looking at the needs, and that is specific. Secondly, what is different? We are able to create agencies and structures which respond to the needs of our people. That is why, of course, we've created NOEDIF, the Northwest Development and Investment Fund, which has many ramifications in different sectors of life, and it is, of course, a big project which is taking its time for maturation. The difference comes not just in terms of the policy, but also in terms of function.
About the deliberations of the regional House of Assembly, can you implement the conclusions of your deliberations without the approval of the central government in Yaoundé?
Oh no! The representative of state for the Northwest Regional Assembly is the governor. And I can tell you that we've had well over close to 80 deliberations. I think just about 3 deliberations have not been approved, with good reason, of course.
That's what observers qualify as giving Anglophones the goat and holding back the rope.
Oh, deliberations are approved not only in the Northwest and the Southwest. I think that is a misconception. The structure of the law and from the eye of the legislator gives the position of the representative of state not to disapprove or put obstacles to the work of the assembly, but to ensure that whatever is deliberated is in conformity with the laws of the land, the legality of the deliberation. I give you an example. We can deliberate and ask for allowances that are not provided for in the overall finance law or in the regulations of state. There must be somebody to say, no, this is not within the framework of the legal organization of our country.
The fact that...
But this is done a posteriori. That is, they don't come and tell us what to do. We do what we do. We deliberate. And if it is not in keeping with the laws of the land, then it would not be approved. But it is sent back for us to rectify. And that is usually done. And I see no problem with that.
Does the fact that just a few of your deliberations, or the conclusions of your deliberations have not been approved by the central administration mean that the working relationship is flowing, is smooth? There are no obstructions, because the fear of many was that you can deliberate at the level of the regional assemblies, a lot of things, good things for the community, but some of those things, or many of those things, are blocked by the Yaoundé administration?
No. First of all, I want to tell you that we have an excellent working relationship with the representative of state, as long as he is in his corridor, and we are in our corridor. The law provides for all of that. And if, that is, in the event that we think that the actions of the representative of state are ultra-virus or out of its purview, we have recourse, and we have not had to do that. We have recourse to go to the administrative court, for instance, which will look at, that is, if we contest the action of the representative of state, that what we deliberated on is legal, and he says it's not, we have recourse to the administrative court. I think that it is actually prudent, so that we do not have problems within our governance structure. I don't see it as a problem. I think instead it is so that the work we do is within the ambit of the law. It is within the purpose of the legislature, that is the legislative bodies that voted the law, and so that our development is seamless. without hiccups and obstacles.
I want us to proceed now to talk about what you've been doing on the ground, what you're doing, and definitely what you're going to be doing in the nearest future, the projects that are still in the pipeline. But before that, let me just put this to you so you can clarify many Cameroonians on this. In terms of state protocol, in a region like the Northwest or the Southwest region, who comes first? The president of the regional assembly or the representative of the state, who is the governor?
I think that it depends. The president of the regional assembly is responsible for development. The governor is responsible for the legality and the security and the administration of state structures, deconcentrated structures. So it depends on what it is. But when the state comes first, of course the governor represents the state. You are not going to say that the region is above the state. So let us begin to talk of institutions and not persons and individuals. That is part of the rebranding and the education that we need to take ourselves. Certainly there's no way a region will be above the state.
We will take a short break. Time for us to take a look at what the newspapers reported this week, and when we come back, we are looking at what has been done, and what is yet to be done, and of course, the challenges on the ground. Stay with us. The Guardian Post reports that after 63 years of Francophones as head of state, it is time for an Anglophone to be president. The paper says the need for an Anglophone president is urgent. In another issue, it calls on Francophones to support the idea of an Anglophone president. Newswatch quotes CPP President Kabanwala Edit saying Cameroonians are anxious for President Biya's exit as his 42-year rule nears the end. Cameroon Tribune announces President Biya's return from a 6-week-long stay abroad. According to The Horizon, a poll shows only 24.7% of Anglophones support the fight for independence through war. As the 2025 presidential election draws near, the Douala chapter of the Cameroon English-speaking Journalists Association, Kamasesh Douala, trains journalists on election reporting and fact-checking, as reported by the Herald Tribune. Daily Voice reports Cameroon's torture shame, highlighting the case of Makossa star Longue Longue, tortured for speaking out. And The Voice Weekender tells its readers that Cameroon Renaissance Movement CRM President Professor Maurice Kamto and Cameroon Bar Association President Barrister Mba Eric Mba have condemned the torture of the musician Longue Longue and are demanding justice. Cameroon Insider says the Predator world heavyweight champion Francis Ngannou is back with a great victory over Renan Ferreira. You're welcome back. We're still with our guest, Professor ANGWAFO, the third president of the Northwest Regional Assembly. Mr. President, what has been done so far by the Northwest Regional Assembly on the ground? Practically, what has been done?
That's a question that I think we would have to use 2 days. I will give you the opportunity to just go around Bamenda 1 and Bamenda 2 and see a few key projects that either have been done or are ongoing. But as we started here, the first thing we had to do was to make a good situation analysis, identify urgent needs, turn the needs into thematic objectives and develop mature projects through studies and all. So in the first year, we did mostly studies and we had 7 major projects. But I must tell you, one of the big structures, which is an innovation, indeed a flagship of our assembly, was contriving and putting together a project that is community initiated, community driven, and run by the people themselves through the Peace and Development Initiative, because our overriding priority at the time we came here is how to get our people look and move away from the crisis and begin to look within themselves and bring the best they have to search and sue for peace. That is why the first year we designed and worked with experts from universities, people who work in peace and conflict resolution area, to first of all get the entire assembly learn about how you do mediation, peace building as opposed to conflict resolution.
Have you achieved something significant in that perspective of mindset transformation?
Well, the mindset transformation cannot be a one-stop, quick thing to go. The transformation of the mind, the rebranding of the region is something for the long haul, and that will take years. But we are proud to say that the reactions from the community are encouraging. I enjoin you to watch the 27-minute documentary on the journey of hope and see how young people who were involved in the high-intensity labor activities in their communities through community labor and development are yearning that this project be continued. And would you, truth be told, we have had during holidays students and join those that are not lucky to go to school to have summer jobs through PDI, to have games, traditional festivals, you name it. So every subdivision of our 34 divisions has had the peace and development meetings, first where they talk of their issues, and then of course community initiated and executed high-intensity labor jobs. And the overriding force here was that we were able to give temporary employment to 5,200 Northwesterners who were otherwise jobless. Secondly, we created a local economy. Places where nobody was active, markets closed, the markets reopened, roads were now opened, gutters cleaned, and cars and motorbikes went to areas that were no-go zones. So you can see that to us, that's the bottom line. And it is not what we say that is important. It is what the community says and does that is impactful to all of us, not just to the Northwest, but to our country.
I was going to ask you the contribution of the Regional Assembly in the resolution of the 8-year-long armed conflict that is still raging in the two Anglophone regions, but you started talking about that already. Just tell us a little more, apart from mindset transformation, what else are you doing to get the people to start looking towards the direction of peace and normalcy?
You know, one of the major drivers of this problem was unemployment. And I just told you, we gave temporary employment in the first phase of PDI to 5,200 Northwesterners. But more importantly, they were rebuilding their lives. If you went through that documentary, you'll see what they'll tell you. There are people who had lost their vital documents, birth certificates and cards. Because of those activities, they were paid, and this was cash for work schemes. They were paid, and this permitted them some to buy school books for their children, some to get startups, women having trading salons, and so on and so forth. We think that you cannot sue for peace just by talking and meeting and talking. You have to match your words with action, and that action is in all of what was done in the communities. Imagine I remember, and you find this, in Menchum, there were people who didn't have water. It was promised for them since independence. The Assembly helped these communities get their water catchment done, and you could have seen the smiles on their faces. I think if we can begin to use the talents of our region, that is the sure way to build peace, and I mean sustainable peace. I think as you are here, you will meet one or two Northwesterners whom we have supported, coached, and permitted them through their talents and skills to develop, for instance, bamboo furnitures, chairs, tables, beds, and so on. The same thing with clay. People have done vases and other things.
Now, have you also been talking to some of the people within the region, within the area of command as the Regional Assembly President, who are at the extremes?
Oh, you know,
fighting for the independence of former British Southern Cameroons. Have you been able to change?
My brother, it's not written on the face whether you are for independence or not. We speak to everybody. And he tell you something. It is not just the Regional Assembly as a representative, the president. We are talking to everyone. First of all, our assembly has an executive arm, the Regional Executive Council. The members of the Regional Executive Council serve as the reference to the communities. At the Regional Executive Council, you have the divisional coordinators that source what is each division, working with the members of the assembly from the subdivisions. And every subdivision has at least one member. Depending on the population, they can have more. So there is a whole chain of interaction that goes from the communities, the quarters, the villages, the subdivisions, to the region. And the councils, the PDC is organized so that all the stakeholders have a common forum to address whatever. Secondly, we have engaged the civil society. The Regional Assembly, it is I would tell you, is the place par excellence of meetings. And you can see, you bumped in today, and you see people who are freely debating on all issues, social, political, economic, at all. The only thing we do is to make sure that we are dealing with legal entities that have their prefectorial order, that pay their taxes, that are good citizens.
The region is said to have shifted backward, moved backward for at least 10 years because of the Anglophone crisis. And speaking about the 5-year regional development plan in June earlier this year, you said that the plan is buttressed by deepening poverty, as the Northwest region is second poorest in Cameroon. What is the situation today?
Well, you can see, and it is a clarion call to everyone, not just within the region, friends of the Northwest, fellow brothers and sisters from Cameroon, Africa, and where else, for us to exhibit and move towards a good humanity, so that whatever differences we have, we come towards the table and see how we can satisfy one another. Because why is the poverty deepening? Because we have abandoned this structural thing that removes people from poverty. The democratic or leveling field is where? It's in school. When you abandon school, you create a whole critical mass of have-nots, ignorant people who cannot be of use to themselves or to those others. So it is important that we address issues across the board. If we were to begin to talk of what is done, I told you it would take 2 days. We've had well over 200 projects in our 3 years. And I'm talking of projects that are completed. I know people don't believe it, but go around. See the projects, see the people. There are 12 multi-year projects that are ongoing. And even there is good progress. Look, I tell you, gentlemen, they are building the ring road towards Nkambe, going all the way from Ndop to Kumbo and on. I urge our people to get on the bandwagon. We have had to build an emergency center in the newly created regional hospital annex in Nkambe. It's a jewel you should see. The same thing is happening in Bamenda. These are from the needs. When we came here, we evaluated the project, the yearly reports of the Bamenda Regional Hospital. We realized that gunshot wounds, trauma, and the like had moved up to be the 3rd or 4th most frequent pathology and cause of death. It was sticking to our eyes that we had to have a place to receive people who are hurt by this unfortunate crisis. That's why the emergency centers were built, and we thank government for that. Each division is having science laboratories, not just built, but equipped, so that we build capacity for the citizen of tomorrow to invent, to create, and not be dependent on jobs from either private or public structures. Because our development has to be a forward-looking development that has the training of the individual at the center. Apart from the schools, we've renovated district hospitals in various places. And truth be told, our traditional leaders have been also put in the game of moving us from stagnation and retrogression to a progress and a perspective of growth. The palaces have been renovated, museums renovated, and so it has been a wholesome project.
I want to insist on the health sector because you are a health professional, you're a health expert, a renowned urologist. What is your perspective of the health sector of the Northwest region? Because that's where there's another big problem. When you go across the region from the urban centers to the hinterlands, access to healthcare is not easy to many Cameroonians. In many areas of the region, they have to go long distances. Some are compelled to move from the hinterlands to the regional headquarters to be able to have access to some specific healthcare services.
What do you want me to say? Before this crisis, the Northwest was the citadel of medical tourism. You remember St. Elizabeth Hospital, Shishon, where people came from all over Africa to get cardiac catheterization, cardiac surgery, cardiac care. You know what it meant for people to live, some from Nigeria, Gabon and all. They came here for care in our bingo, BBH, hospitals that the Pan-African Association of Surgeons accredited to train postgraduate surgeons. So it is a call for the Northwest to wake up. Whoever has deceived us, let us get back to the strength and who we are. and it is coming. I just told you about the emergency centers, about the district hospitals. Truth be told, sir, since we've been here, the health map of the Northwest has been improved. I think just recently we had 3 new district hospitals. We have several subdivisional medical centers, not to talk of integrated health centers. But better yet, this assembly, in the structure of its work, made sure from the word go, from our first session, we have training centers to build capacity, because our first disease is actually ignorance. And I'm not talking about my grandmothers and those that didn't go to school. We all have to learn, unlearn certain things, and relearn. In our sessions, the first days are always interactive sessions where the members learn from accredited and experts, renowned people in their fields. I remember, since you're talking of health, a clinical psychologist, Ms. ANGWAFO, who came to us and is working with us, because what we found out that the mental health status of our communities was begging for help. We were in trouble. And she gave us highlights on the psychosocial difficulties and aspects of the crisis and what we will do to get out of it. We think that whether here during our sessions or in the community, from the capacities that have built here, members of the Assembly have been those, I would say, sentinel people who carry the messages to our communities on what to do in the desperate situation that we have. And I bet you ask of impact, it's improving.
Mr. President, another thing that is not only begging, but even crying for help is the road network. The town of Bamenda and the rest of the Northwest region. Anyone who comes into the town of Bamenda, the road, the situation of the roads will immediately attract his or her attention. We noticed as we went around the town that the same bad roads that Manchu BBC carried a coffin to decry and is in detention today are in the same situation about 7 years after. Despite all the declarations by the Prime Minister when he came here, he said, I'm going back to Yaoundé and things will start very soon. Despite all the efforts, the roads are still very bad, and even in a situation that is worse.
Well, I must admit to you that the roads are not where we want them to be. But things are improving. I am sure you traveled from Buda to Bamenda. You see that there is good quality work being done by one of us, the Babaju Bamenda Road. And what's also true is that from Welcome to Bamenda down to Nkwen, that road also is being redone. And I will tell you, first of all, the promise by the Prime Minister was made in October 2021, not 7 years ago. I know it seems like an eternity, but it was 3 years ago. And why haven't we done this? Simply because we had a project to do a small narrow road through Bamenda. But the truth is what? Is that through negotiation, through the proper environmental, social studies, technical studies, we now will have a huge boulevard all around Bamenda. Instead of a 16-meter road, we'll be having a 30-meter road. So 3 years might look like it's been a long time, but 3 years was a time to mature a better project so that we have roads done, but a better Bamenda, because we want not just to build back, but to build back better. Right. So that is where we are going. And I want to assure you, it's not just the major roads around Bamenda. The entire region is a workplace. You know, the Kumbo, Nkambe, Messager, Ring Road. It's being done now. And being done by who? Valiant, viable, trusted citizens of the Northwest. The Regional Assembly, from its inception, has been doing regional roads. You should get a handle of this. All of this is published in the Northwesterner. Go to the pictures on our website. You will find them there. I think we can do better in communication. That's why I allowed your initiative to come to us and see the truth with your eyes, hear with your ears. And please, since you are a wonderful communicator, we don't do so well, you will help us. Get my people, get out of the rut that they're pushing them into so that we can come around the table, look at ourselves, eyeball one another, speak to ourselves, get our traditions work for us so that we build a better Northwest region.
We're going to take some interviews now. When we come back, we'll talk about the 5-year regional development plan. Interviews of the week.
Bamenda 1 is one of the first councils that embraced peace, and we discussed with our brothers who were in the bushes. They understood the meaning of development, and they came out and gave their guns to give to the ministry. They now joined the council to see that they develop the council. That's why you see Bamenda 1 today is one of the fastest developed council. As a mayor, we have one key action point, which is development. And for you to achieve this government, we must involve all the stakeholders in state, especially the youth, to be involved in the development of the community. And if you see us going to the bike riders now, it's because we have seen that they handle the most important part of the development of the community. Because if people don't go out to work, we cannot develop a community. And as bike riders, it's not like they are forgotten or they are not important. We had to come back to sensitize and to let them know the importance of the safety, road safety, which I have to thank first the Minister of Transport for giving us this credit through Fong Route, which we sensitize the youths, especially the bike rider. They are very, very important to the society. So if you saw the number that we called, and they came because they thought this was that they should come and get the knowledge of the road safety so that we can equally save the population that are carrying every day. Children are going to school today because of them. People are going to work today because of them. And coming to support them, giving them helmet to secure their own life so that they can be able to do their work well, to give them the road safety guide so that they can do their own job well. And now we can now join to sustain the development of the community. When I became mayor, one of my key principal project was to bring peace, because you cannot develop a place where there's no peace. And when I succeeded in that peace, I had to look for other means to sustain that peace of the community. And to sustain that peace, we had to bring in all these projects that you see we are having in the community. And this project has come to sustain this peace that I must commend here, and to appreciate all the stakeholders that have supported Bamenda 1 by giving all these projects. But one of the best projects that you can see, the youth loves football. We started by bringing, using football to bring peace, and we have struggled to see that we try to build one of the stadiums in Bamenda in the community.
My previous years in this school, I've noticed we have issues with having the equipment in the labs and other things. So the provision of this new lab and the new equipment is really going to help us, because in class we study more of theory, we don't really get to know about the practical part, and I believe that knowing more about the practical part will help us to retain it. So these new instruments are going to help us really well and also to excel in our exams.
Due to our large numbers of us doing the sciences, we have to be crowding towards equipment where some people will grab the concept, and whereas others will not grab since they are just managing to. So with the provision of this, I'm very more excited because more students will have the opportunity and space to acquire skills.
In the past years, GBHS Bamenda has been the focal point for all the sciences and an accommodation center for GCE especially the sciences, because all the other centers in school, a good number of them schools accommodate them for their practical lessons in the old lab. But now that the Regional House of Assembly has donated this wonderful gift to the students and to the staff of GBHS Bamenda, it is going to boost the performance of the students and step them up, because the teaching and the learning process in the school is going to step up tremendously. The availability of all of this didactic material, the students are exposed to all what it takes to handle science lessons, because they'll go through a lot of practical lessons. We have chemicals, we have everything available, and it's going to help the teachers to prepare them adequately for the forthcoming GCE exams, and I believe that the performance is going to be wonderful. Over the years, with the context under which we have been operating, I think we have not really had any security challenges, because we have station squads on campus, and they are always there to make sure that the learning and the teaching process goes on hitch-free.
This is a bed, a bamboo bed, incorporated with the palm trees. Yes, if you look at the material there, is not wood. It's actually a product from the palm tree that we split it and then we try to attach it behind the bamboos. So if you look at the floor, you see that those are raffia bamboos. Yes, and then back you see the edges of the bed. They are so the complete bed like this is produced with raffia and the raffia bamboos with palm trees. So we also have a lamp stand there. That's a lamp, bedside lamp with a bedside cupboard. So we don't use the only thing that we can use here that is not natural. It's just the hinges that we use to attach the bed. Yes, but any other thing here is of local material. Very solid, because this is not our first time of producing this bed. And there are some of these beds. Even if you go to Ayaba Hotel, you'll see the bed there. So we produced that one since 2014. And it's still there, up to date. They are using it.
You're welcome back. Mr. President, tell us more about the estimated 2,155 billion francs CFA regional development plan.
Don't be scared. It is just a plan. Why are you looking at things from a minimal point of view? The people of the Northwest, when they mean business, that can be done. I know what I'm saying. They are my people. So we must move from where we set the compass to, oh, it cannot happen, oh, it is so far, to the compass where we are the Northwest of old. The regional development plan was done to, first of all, look at what land we have. We had a project of land use. We got experts, and most of them from the region, I tell you, who are developers, geographers, economists, planners, to work with us. And the Ministry of Regional Development and the Ministry of Decentralization. Once we had done a situation analysis, these experts worked with who? Civil society, associations, so that the people's needs were captured. Once they were captured, we now gave a chronogram, a timeline of what to do from the priority of first peace building, getting the people together. Because in our mind, citizen participation and people-centered development means who develops? The people. Self-reliance, self-development.
Earlier you said that we shouldn't be frightened by the figures. Yeah. And responding to those who may think that the plan is way too ambitious considering the limited financial resources available, you said the plan is realistic in as far as the determined and hard-working Northwesterners can marshal their resources for their development. What do you mean by saying that they should marshal their resources for development?
Very simply put, you will see around here the ingenuity, the talent of young men. That is wasting because we do not have the proper plan and planning and engagement. If these people were to commit, for instance, we have the resources here. What is our first resource? Don't be scared of the first resource is land. As a matter of fact, if we were to get a proper land use project and get the policies that we need, NOEDIV, for instance, studied 5 basic value chain projects: poultry, cassava, maize, tomato, vegetables, and I think there was fish, a little more than 5. And imagine that in all these products, you have a regional network of cooperatives, and that each village had its cooperative. And the regional assembly now organizes this agency that is a fund, NOEDIV, that collects revenue and funds investment by these cooperatives within the villages. And then the standard and marketing agency buys these products and sells them to institutional, local, national, and international markets. Do you think we will not raise monies? It will be more than you can even imagine. The problem is we are locked in a negation and a dependency that stops us from mastering, gathering our wealth. I just give you an example: land, which sometimes we just give away. And not just the land. We have raffia that we are destroying. We should be planting it, investing in raffia, so we have raffia furniture, we have raffia tables, we have raffia beds. We should be investing in palm. Palm not just for palm oil, but palm for furniture.
How much can all of that bring to the table in terms of percentage of the budget?
If you go by the law
of that plan.
If you go by the law, one of the sections of our law says that we can create a fund or an agency, call for funding, but we can not go beyond 33%. So if today the communities were to take shares in NOEDIV, say for only 2 billion, and 2 billion is not much. When I see what we spend with funerals, as we did a survey, a very skimpy survey in 2021 here, we realized that just on this one entry into the region from Santa, we would have as much as 200 or 300 burials coming in.
So you're expecting a little above 70% of
70%
that budget to come from the state?
No, not just the state. Why are you limiting yourself? The state will contribute, the diaspora will contribute, the international community will contribute.
What percentage do you expect from the state?
No, it's the state, it's a negotiation. I've given you the percentage that the law limits the region to mobilize. This assembly. But imagine that, I just gave you an example, imagine that we got 2 billion, and that 2 billion is 33%, so 1/3. We'll put out there that we have 2 billion, we are looking for 4 billions, right? And we will go to the state, the Ministry of Plan and Regional Development and Finance. We'll work with them, and it is now for them to say, with the available money for regional development and with the special situation of your region, this is what we can bring.
That takes us
then we will go to the
question.
international community. And I'm not talking for talking's sake. This region has had an MOU with Smile Train, an American charity that has been doing wonders in this region. And you know, that charity with Kids OR, renovated the operating room in the Mbingo Hospital. And the Mbingo Hospital is our center of excellence for cleft lip and cleft palate surgery. And the surgery is done for free by our partner. Not only have they been doing surgery for free, the post-surgery care in terms of nutrition, in terms of speech and education is within our agreement. Further, they train and build capacity of community health workers who identify not just this malformation but others, and who also take care of the nutritional aspects. And they trained even communicators, the community radios, in our national or mother tongue languages, so that within the community, with this important international partner, we can solve the problems, and they help through their humanitarian effort to allay the fears and problems of the citizen.
About the
they also train doctors, nurses. The Northwest should count itself special, not on our account, not only on the account of the head of state, President Biya and his government, but even on the account of our friends abroad. And here, the Northwest should be the area, not where people are afraid to come. It should be that attractive region where others come to invest in our humanity, to see the charm of our culture, the beauty of our people, of our Togo, of our Chu, of our Fufu, of our culinary perfection.
About the transfer of competence and resources by the state to the regions. Is this effective 100%?
Well, I don't know what 100% is. I think there is a misconception of the decentralization. It was never said anywhere in that law that there will be total transfer. So are you going to say that the local and regional councils will now even do what is meant for the central government? I don't think so. I think...
Have you been receiving at the level of the Northwest Regional Assembly what you expect from the state?
I've received what the state has said. I did not expect...
What you expect or what the state sent?
No. I'm not somebody who is unduly expectant. Listen, sir. I just told you, if you read the law, you will see that in principle, national policies, the oversight, control, and are for the central government. There are certain aspects in execution that are central. The core in the development in those areas that have been devolved to the region is by the region for the macro development, and for the basic services and micro development for the local councils. So you have to read that in the perspective of the law. So I expect that the central government will come here to do oversight and its controls. It will be terrible for me to have everything devolved to me and I do my work and control it myself. You can see that that will not be very efficient.
Within the framework of the regional plan, the 5-year regional development plan, yes. Can you give us an understanding of what the Regional Industrial Innovation Park Complex is all about?
Oh, this is another project very dear to us. We are working to make sure that it will work sooner than later, because it will come to answering the core of unemployment. The Regional Innovative Park is an area, and we've gotten the land, we've gotten an MOU with Maxi. It has been developed, the access is good, we have water, we have electricity, but we need heavy investment, close to 5 to 6 billion, to first of all build the external customs clearance center, and then build the regional mall with stores and a transformation area where innovators, whether they are from the university, from the community, will come and exhibit their inventions, their talents, so that we can use those to develop projects for first and second industrial processes. May I tell you, we had REFOCAM, which is a regional university forum of African universities. And I was amazed at what a lady engineer from the University of Bamenda produced to shell beans, corn, granules and all. That's something that if we had an innovation park, we'll have this lady come there and you will have a meeting of funders, industrialists, innovators, creators, and the region, so that we form packages to have a foundation for creating, building, developing industry.
What are some of the challenges that you're facing as an institution in the implementation of all these projects, all these efforts that you're undertaking on the ground?
The biggest challenge we have is ignorance and the brainwash our people have gone through. Our people have been told to be dependent. Depend on the international community. Depend on your own. Depend. And I find it totally, frankly, to tell you, unbecoming. Here are people who yearn and cry that they want to do their own thing. You come and say, let's do it. They say, but what have they given us to do it? You see the contradictions. The contradictions are, that is a symptom of the brainwash. First. The second contradiction is, you say you are poor and you give away the elements of wealth. The first element of wealth is what? Is your sovereignty, land sovereignty. So if we can help through educating our people, and I don't mean a degree education, education for life, your health, your wealth. We have wealth. People look at fields in the cities. They call it field because they don't know. This is where you can take waste for wealth, waste for health, by introducing a circular economy where you recycle, you reuse, you reinvent, and you produce. Produce bottles from used bottles. You produce tiles and pavement blocks from plastics. You produce manure from household perishable waste. It will be cost effective. You decrease unnecessary export of currency for fertilizer by using manure and local products.
What is your understanding of the fact that despite all these things that you have been doing for these years, despite all what you have been telling the people, trying to transform their mindsets, there are still many who are at the extreme end, and that is why the conflict continues raging, killings and other atrocities, kidnapping and all the rest have continued.
I'm not surprised. For those who have studied the history of conflicts and crises, it is a multi-generational transformation process. We lay down the foundation and we hope that our children and others will pick it up and run with it. Sir, you know, and I'm pleading, I don't name any countries, the African countries who have been in crisis since independence. And I'm pleading with my people, let us not be fooled because we think that there are people from elsewhere who have vested interest in us more than us. Let's be wise. We need help, of course, but genuine help. There are people whose economy is based on crisis. So of course they would not want us to succeed. I'm not surprised. Some of them are even my brothers and sisters. Some are expatriates. It's nothing new. There's nothing new under the sun. I can guarantee you that if we come back to ourselves, and that is why we are hoping we'll have the authority to run our communication agency, so that to deal with this social, economic, and political ignorance, we can communicate in our mother tongues. We can have an agency that will be projecting not just the type of documentaries we're having, but projecting videos on community theater, where people will act out problems within the community. Why is the crisis not going away as fast as possible? You get good people who produce film, cinema. They will take that theme, develop a film on it, project it, and that is a way we'll get to improve upon our abject ignorance and positioning ourselves to be manipulated and abused by whoever cares so.
Professor, thank you so much for the wisdom and insights you've shared with us in this edition of the program.
Well, I have tried on behalf of my colleagues of the Regional Executive Council, some of who are here, and I thank them for being here, and the members of the House. When we are together, nothing can be beyond us. Ulterior motives will not take us far. But I understand that we cannot all have the same objectives and the same ambitions. But we are condemned because we are from one region, we are one people, and if you na me na you, we be we will overcome. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for staying with us. That's it for today's edition of The Inside. If you missed the program, you can follow the rebroadcast on Friday at 5 p.m. You can also follow us on our social media handles, Facebook and YouTube. Thank you so much for your kind attention. Goodbye.